today's going to be a fun one. Guess what? I told everybody last stream what we were going to be doing today. We're going to decide Carol's tragic, messed up backstory from that awesome list of ideas we made during the Halloween stream. So, who was here for the Halloween stream? Don't worry if you weren't, because we're going to we'll be looking at that list again today, because folks who were hanging out here then had the option to submit their own messed up or tragic Carol backstory. And we got quite a lot of really good ones, so we're going to have to shortlist them. We're going to have to pick the ones that really stick out to us. And we might even have a poll today to see which one comes out, or which couple or which few come out as the most popular, because chances are we're not going to just pick one event. There's going to be a few events that have happened in Carol's life that have led to her becoming the person she is. So I have the timeline here already, which is on the Law Bible, everybody. So if anyone wants to go on the Law Bible, it is on the website, but it'll also, if you want the link to the Law Bible, if you're impatient, there you go. So eventually we might be able to fill this timeline out more with these events that we decide today. And of course, when it comes to world building, not every single thing that you world build makes it into the game. A lot of it's there just for the writer to have to know themselves, but some of it will, like I'm sure there's going to be a flashback moment, a significant flashback, when we can create some scenes of this backstory. Either she'll say it through dialogue, or we'll see a flashback and it'll happen, whatever feels best and what is going to be the most entertaining to do. So we have Carol's character cards here, so we might have a little look at that, remind ourselves of her fears and misbeliefs and all that sort of thing. But here's the list. Let's zoom in a little. Okay, so we broke everything down into categories. We have the backstory ideas involving Carol herself, from you guys from the Halloween stream. We also have, oh my gosh, we got more than I thought. We also have a list of horrible general barrel fates that aren't linked to Carol, but we figured out that they could be the way Carol's parents died, because people were coming out with some really messed up barrel deaths, and I was like, okay, we need a list just for those. And because if you look through the timeline, there was 2 barrels that came to life in between Hank and Elvira and Carol, Meryl and Woody, and they would be the parent generation, because of course Elvira and Hank are the grandparents of Carol and Meryl, which means obviously there must have been parents somewhere. And we figured, yeah, there's a missing generation of Carol's parents, possibly, that we haven't met, or they weren't in the cart scene. They're not alive in the present day anymore. That's why they're just silhouettes with question marks on them. And then, of course, Oliver Kate is the youngest and was the last one to come to life. These, just for a bit of insight, these barrels, these containers aren't biologically related. They're not a race. They were brought to life from a spell that was cast, and they, of course, feeling like like-minded living beings, formed a community together, and obviously grew attached. So yes. that is why we have pretty much decided that they're going to have a tragic tale, those parents, because they're dead now. They're dead, and there's a big question mark on how they died. But we're going to look through that list today. We're going to read through them together again, and we're going to bold the ones that we really like. And obviously you guys chat if there's any that really stick out to you. Don't forget to say, because otherwise we might not include it on our shortlist. So if there's like any that you're drawn to, make sure you say, and it's going to get an extra tick by it if anyone points out they're a fan of it. Okay, so what else did we have? Story ideas for Carol's companions: Meryl, Elvira, Hank, Woody and Oliver. So that was just a list of things that involve the other characters that weren't Carol or the parents, that could be part of their backstory. And then we had some general creepy, disturbing backstory ideas that didn't fit with the barrels, but people in chat brought up that might come in the future. And then for some reason we started talking about items that go in the barrels, and I thought I'll list those because that would be quite an interesting mechanic if you ask me, and a very cute and endearing story sort of element if they have things put in them, inside them, and they sort of get affected by those things. Example, if there's alcohol in a barrel, they'll be tipsy. And things like that. And if there's herbs in the barrel, they'll get high and all those sort of things. I wonder, do barrels physically grow, or do they grow psychologically, mentally? Good question. See, I've wondered that myself, Proto, and it's very much up for deciding. It's a question mark. It could be a yes or it could be a no. It's whatever's going to end up working best with the story and the world, and whatever's going to lead us to something potentially, and not a plot hole. I personally couldn't imagine Oliver growing up, because he's a little cookie jar, and maybe it would be a bit unrealistic if the objects actually grew in size. But what you say, the second point of grow psychologically and mentally, is an interesting one, because I doubt they're going to grow in like size or anything like that, but they're going to age in some way. Like Hank and Elvira have lived, like just looking at them, they're clearly the older and more wise barrels. But doesn't mean they're perfect either. Elvira's got her flaws. She's a bit of a xenophobic person. Hank's got his flaws. He's a little bit too submissive. So although they're the elder ones, they still have stuff to learn themselves in this journey. They're certainly not fully grown yet. So interesting point for sure. Interesting things to consider there. Okay, so fun times. We've got like how many things in this list? There's 23 in the first one, and there's 12 in the second. So some of them might not be as relevant for a backstory event for Carol specifically. But it doesn't, even if they don't make the shortlist today, doesn't mean that they won't come in handy potentially for something in the future. So of course this Google Doc is going to be forever saved, because you never know, I might want to look back on it and see what some of the other ideas, if there's ever a time for those, and if they could lead to something. Okay, so my idea is pretty boring and standard. Tried to take Carol's life and break her into pieces. I mean, that could have happened, but I think if we were going to go for something like that, we'd need more events around it. We wouldn't just want it to be that, and there was no like reason or anything that led to that moment of a human trying to break her. So some of these are really fleshed out, some of the ideas, so I can see us potentially combining some maybe, if necessary, but we'll make a list. I'm trying to think how to do this. Shall we bold or underline the ones we like? I want to read through them all first, I think. So 1. A human tried to take her life and break her into pieces. 2. Humans could have used her to hold something gross, like animal skins for tanning. Okay. I'm gonna get another tab up, Google Images, so if any like specific things get mentioned, I can give them a Google. Actually, there we go. Something gross. So an animal skin for tanning would Carol be grossed out by that? That could be something that the hero would put in Carol in general anyway, because it could be loot from an enemy, right? So she's got to learn to get tough. if she's going to get bothered by animal hide, she's going to have problems beating the hero's inventory, I'll tell you. Interesting one. That I can definitely see something like that working as Carol dialogue if the hero was to put something in her like that, like she might have a sort of reaction. But let's see what else. We've got some dark stories coming up, so I'm excited to read those again. Someone threw up in a barrel, or someone went to the bathroom in a barrel. I like that one. I think it's funny but horrible. You know, people enjoy toilet humour to a certain degree, and having that be combined with something as horrible as it happening to Carol or one of the other barrels is a bit sad, and you feel sorry for them, but it's still funny. But yeah, we've put the non-lethal tragic stories in the Carol section, because obviously Carol's not dead, so Carol's probably experienced some really horrible traumatic things, but enough to keep her alive, of course. So that one definitely works because it's horrible, but it wouldn't kill her. Carol could have been used by the farmer to store juice when they squeezed that living fruit. Maybe she was even talking to it before the farmer showed up. Interesting. And a thought just sprung to my mind. Some of these ideas don't even necessarily just have to be backstory. They could be present day things that potentially happen as well, either in side quests or the main storyline quest within the game. Not necessarily just in episode 1 either. And something like that could, because we have fruits in the game already as characters that we meet in main quest 2 of the game, it wouldn't be like out of the ordinary to have something like that happen in the present day either. So hey Rose, how you day been? Hi Rod, how are you doing? I'm doing alright, Rod, how are you? It's very dark here in England, and it's not even 4 p.m. yet. Any plans for the weekend aside from staying in? What am I doing this weekend? Oh, I'm gonna be, it's just game dev stuff, but I'm gonna be posting the new Tall Sprite Pixels on Twitter for Screenshot Saturday. So yes, doing a fun tweet to show stuff off. That's what I'll be doing. I've got to do that tonight actually, so it's ready for tomorrow. Stopping in to say hi, make sure you're alright, going to head off to do stuff. Oh, what are you going to be doing? Yeah, take care, Rod. I hope whatever you're doing is going to be fun. And if she just constantly saw humans being cruel to each other, would that contribute to her disliking them? Maybe thinking, wow, they don't even care about their own kind. Because then I was thinking she could be stuck in a dark alley or something and witness a murder or other horrible things happen to a person. Also interesting, and that could also be something that happens in the present day as well, throughout the series even, and it would just kind of confirm to her what humans are like. Even if she just starts to like them a little bit throughout the journey, she could see something like that and be like, no, humans are horrible. And because, you know, there's going to be plenty of Carol present day scenes too. Do you know you lived in England? What time is it over there? Yes, I do. I thought everybody would just assume I was from England because of my accent. So, because I have a pretty strong British accent. What time is it over there? It's 3:48 p.m. It's all 5 hours ahead of EST. Indeed. The barrels can be used as that. Could be discussed depending on the animal. Let's Google those. Yeah, we have those in the farmland area. Actually, we've made a map of the farm already because it appeared in the Carol flashback that I've already done the scene for Main Quest 2, and we have pigs with exactly those. So something like that is pretty similar to the point number 3 with the whole threw up in the barrel or someone went to the bathroom in a barrel. And even that could still happen in the present day as well. So I really like that even though we've got to shortlist these ideas, and obviously only a few of them will be the official Carol backstory ideas. Because it's a good thing to already know well in advance what Carol's entire backstory was, so that we can make her dialogue consistent with it. And, you know, when she talks to the hero, that past is kind of subtly brought up. Not in a way where she's telling the hero it all, but like it sort of makes sense with the way she behaves and stuff. Well, until next time, hopefully, take care, Rod. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for hanging out. Oh, I'm going to post a live announcement in the World Anvil Discord, actually. I always forget to do this. Live thinking of backstory ideas for one of our main characters. One of the main characters for my RPG video game, because people think it's tabletop otherwise. Okay, Discord's deciding it doesn't want to put my thumbnail there today. Oh, it's because I've put the stupid dashes around. I mean, the thingy signs. Habit. Because I always do that in my own Discord, so it doesn't get too crowded. All right. Next point. Carol saw a werewolf transform once and presumed this meant that all humans must turn into wolves sometimes. Question though. Thoughts about that? Are wolves bad to barrels? I'd love to know why, if so, because does that mean she dislikes animals? If we were going to go with such a thing, we'd need a good reason for why that would bother her. In fact, I think Carol would quite like beast races a bit more than humans, maybe, but that's still a question mark at this point, because not necessarily. It's just that beast races or beasts in general will tend to be a little bit more oppressed than humans, so I feel like she'd relate to them better. So maybe while they were travelling, someone threw a barrel at Father Maple in self-defence. And that barrel wouldn't have a good fate if he was thrown at Father Maple, because Father Maple would probably smash into pieces. I'm trying to imagine how that scenario would go. But of course, it's always good to involve Father Maple in the plot more, because he is a background character. This one would be really sad. What if there was a young human female that was seeing a man her father disapproves of, and then became pregnant and went into hiding for a few months? She had the baby. Maybe set something up to where she'd leave the baby in the barrel and someone else was supposed to pick it up to take care of it while she went back home. However, the other person never came and the baby died inside the barrel. That was the dark story that Sarah mentioned, and we was all absolutely horrified by it, but in a good way. I like it. Okay, next one. So just so you know, everyone, we're going to be having story streams like this and a few dialogue streams in between, probably for the rest of this month. Geez, that's tragic, it is. Zyva's good at the dark things. It is, it's really tragic. If we went for that one, we'd all be crying. I'd be crying when making the scene. Maybe Carol was tossed in the river once and had to make her way back from far downstream. Yes, we have a waterfall and rivers in Everbloom. And it's always interesting to make use of the environment for story elements and things. Maybe Carol witnessed a lot of times that humans only seem to use the perfect barrels, one without blemishes and dents or scratches, and maybe the humans trash and throw those out, leaving the perfect barrels wondering if they are going to be trash and constantly paranoid they won't be seen as perfect anymore. Interesting. That one has actually made me think of Hank and Elvira, because Hank isn't perfect. Hank gets a hole in him. He's fine there in this picture because this is pre-wagon hijacking event, but he does eventually get a hole in him during the hijacking when he tries to save Oliver's life. So he would be classed as someone that wasn't the perfect barrel, and someone Elvira Elvira's probably the perfect barrel. She claims she's this antique barrel. Well, that was something decided by the community, and she's got the gold rings, and she's definitely more of a high-end barrel, that's for sure. So I feel like this story would be a present day event, or well, not so much a present day event, but a future scenario. in the game, potentially. When the kidnappers have got the barrels, they're about to do what they want to with them, store raindrops in them, realise Hank's got a hole in him and is useless, potentially. And Elvira, of course, would be bothered by that because Hank's her man. So, yes. Every time Carol is sleeping, she is having the same dream. She is being transported in a wagon along other barrels by some humans. Okay. So this is, funnily enough, that's an event that's already happened. So yes, she does travel by wagon a lot. When they arrive at the lake, there she sees her fellow barrels getting stuffed with corpses and stones and get tossed into the river. She dreads the idea of succumbing to the same fate. As her turn comes up, another wagon comes out of nowhere, smashing into her. She rolls over towards the forest nearby to the impact while hearing the screams of the humans that were stuffing the barrels with corpses. She manages to escape, and since that day she detests humans. Kind of similar to the current flashback in a way, like there's parallels, except there's additional things that are interesting. Corpses being stuffed in barrels. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing, and that would be pretty gross and dark as well. Could a cult perhaps have stolen a batch of barrels, including Carol, and used them to store their horrific sacrifices? But the storage room was also the dungeon for the cult. Carol got to spend days with a kind gnome who tried their best to keep it. So we don't have gnomes and kobolds in our game, or not yet anyway, or if we ever will, I don't know. So we could always replace those races with some others, you know, what are relevant to the story. Calm before they were slaughtered and placed inside Carol for a full moon. Lots of corpse stories going on. The cult was all human, trying to summon a being that would purge the impurity she saw in humanity. It's its absolute worst, and like after that it's just hard to trust any human again. Hi Rose, hi chat, how you doing Zeva? We're rereading all the stories, and after that I'm going to kind of shortlist the ones that I feel will probably fit best, and then we'll do a poll because I want to see which ones are the most loved out of all of them, out of the ones I pick. It's going to be fun. Hi Van, how you doing? Good morning to you too. How are things? Existing conflict between humans and reptiles, so maybe they were trying to please a spirit that would ward away the reptiles. Okay, so maybe there's a Halloween-like ritual in Lakefall and a barrel got used as a costume or to hold candy they found, and they found it humiliating. Barrel got used as a costume, or let me read that again. Oh, candy, and I found it humiliating. I wonder who would, like, who's the proudest? Elvira's definitely the proudest barrel. So she would find something like that humiliating. What we're doing today, we're going to be deciding Carol's backstory because we made that list in the Halloween stream, and now it's all about shortlisting them, and we're going to set in stone a few of these events to be the ones that actually happened, because that once we know, I feel like it's best to decide as soon as possible what Carol's backstory is, so that we can consistently kind of make her character fit with that past as we write the dialogue. And some of this backstory will eventually maybe get revealed throughout the course of the story, whenever it's the right time for it to get revealed. Probably like wouldn't be, you know, anything that gets revealed super early. It all depends whenever there's a time for it to be revealed. But it's always good for us as the writers to know in advance about these things. Backstory is such a big thing, and because Carol's our main character, good to know it, right? And this, it fits with the other barrels as well. There's some other stories for the other containers that were cool in this list as well. It would suck to be used to sell fish or clams in a market. The smell soaking into the wood would probably feel degrading. Yeah, so fish market. We have a beach that is very likely going to be a tourist town in the game, probably. No doubt a fish market would be most fitting for that location by the coast. So that's something like that could fit in a present day story, because reading through this list, a lot of them, like the ones we don't end up going with, could be potentially appear in a present day story element in a future episode, if it works. We're not gonna like throw it in if it doesn't fit, but if it does, it's nice to like have the ideas there in case something does work. There is a holiday where people do barrel rides down the waterfall of Lakefall. People talk of a hero who escaped ghoulies by jumping in a barrel and riding it over the edge. Then we can have a scene where the hero has to escape a monster and has to convince Carol to let them ride. And during the holiday, people bob for apples in barrels and all sorts of things. So the bobbing for apple things and the holiday kind of links similar to this Halloween ritual with the costumes and the candy and that. The costume thing is an interesting thing because that's going to be something that's going to actually happen in Main Quest 3 in one branch. You have the option to dress up as reptiles, including Carol. So yes, Carol would hate that, but it's one of the branches you can take when you go to find the reptiles. But this is an interesting one, the whole thing about the barrel rides down the waterfall. Like I said, I'm a fan of making plot and story elements link with the environment. And the waterfall of Lakefall is such a big landmark. Escaping the ghoulies is interesting as well, because that is kind of something that's happening in Lakefall from when we had the story streams. A couple of weeks ago it was mentioned about Stumpy. Stumpy's a little tree log or stump. A log more likely because he can hop. And he laughs, giggles and like screeches, and it gives the Lakefall villagers nightmares. Stumpy's kind of a pest to the human villagers of Lakefall. They don't know who it is making the noises, but they know someone is, and it's Stumpy. And we said that they could have a bad night's sleep and that have nightmares. Sleeping on the hammocks makes them have a worse night's sleep because it's outside, yet sleeping in the inn will sort of block out the sounds, so it's a little bit better. There was some very interesting concepts there that was mentioned about that. So, but other than the Stumpy screeches and the haunted nightmares, there's not anything like supernatural or anything ghost-like in the game just yet. But it's an interesting thought because we got to think of side quests. You know, there's only a couple of side quest story elements we thought of so far, which is the Stumpy quest with the fire, but the burning of the fire and Stumpy being caught in it and helping the old man get warm and having that choice if you're going to save Stumpy or help the old man is a really cool quest. And the second side quest element was the forbidden romance story with the reptile and the human, which is probably gonna be sort of filtered into the main story in small cutscenes along the way, overhearing conversation and things like that. So that's more of a side main quest element. But I think we'll want at least, at minimum, half a dozen side quests in episode 1. I think somewhere between 6 and 10, I think, would be the amount. I wouldn't probably want more than that, because then we'll start to lose the quality of the quests, and if we did too many quests, they'll end up just being rushed and just glossed over, and they'd all be like filler quests, and that's what we don't want. We want the side quests to have substance in this game, so I'd rather have less than more, so we can properly put time into them and make them meaningful. So I think somewhere around 6 it really, but if we felt we wanted a couple more, we could always add a couple more to 10, no more than that. So something like this, I know, could fit in as a side quest somewhere for Carol and the hero character development, an extra fun thing, potentially. And hi Horizon, how are you doing? Yes, very, very true, Kappa. Side quests do calculates homework for student. Yeah, that would be the best side quest ever. Could you detect my sarcasm? Because I always think I'm terrible at sarcasm, and people believe me when I say it. Do I? Thank you. That was my aim. Then we can have a scene where the hero has to escape a monster and let them ride. Okay. Harvest festivals are given in almost any agri society. Most of them develop scarecrows and other spooky-like imagery. Perhaps a straw man festival where the villagers invite their scarecrows into the homes, but have to go out themselves in spooky costumes to scare away the spirits the SCs protect against as well. Okay, so scarecrows are, funnily enough, a character that's going to be in the farmlands. So you never know. Episode 2 stuff. A sheet covering a body comes to life and wanders around acting like sheet ghost. Like a sheet ghost, I think that's what that was meant to say. Oh, I've missed one out. A broken old rope ladder on the cliff with items at the bottom of the cliff that implies that someone fell to their doom would be a cool way to work creepy lore into level design. Yeah, so good, another good idea, because again we're making use of the environment. So things like that, little details are in the world, the level design are cool. There's going to be plenty of those in Raindrop Chronicles. A section of guardrails with an in mooring would also have dark implications. Kids screwing around, throwing stuff off the cliff, end up slipping. All but one who was paralysed and survived by landing just right on another kid. Yeah, dark. Well, that could... Well, a cart rolled off and crashed. Okay. What was the zone where there was going to be mine carts? Was it going to be the Badlands? So these, again, we're going off. Not everything on this list is related to the barrels, but there's still some interesting creepy story elements. A barrel being used for human trafficking would probably be too dark, but maybe for a kidnapping. And Carol gets used as a podium by a politician and just finds it very frustratingly boring. Yeah, that would be funny. And that would either be Traitorio or the King or someone like that. Okay, now we're on to the next bit. Getting through this list. It's good to remind ourselves. Because it was, how long ago? A couple of weeks ago when we made this list. You know what would be kind of scary? If one of the barrels was boiled in hot water and then twisted and stretched. Yeah, why would that? That's an interesting, very nightmare fuel-ish scenario, but I'm curious about why the person would do that to the barrel. Why someone would, what the purpose would be for boiling a barrel in hot water. A human took one of the barrels from the generation that was between her and her grandparents, thinking it was a regular barrel, and did the ride a barrel over the edge of the waterfall stunt, never to be seen again. Oh gosh, yeah. A missing barrel. And because Carol is trying to find her lost family, that would kind of like, she'd already experienced it once. She lost another family member before, so it's she doesn't want to have that repeated. Salute, bonjour. Hi Artifacts, welcome back to the stream. How are you doing today? Hope you're having a good one. Someone climbed in a barrel and broke it from the inside out. Yes, that's horrible. Someone continually stuffs a barrel until it breaks. Basically what a hoarder would do. Yeah, that would be what Carol would be scared of as well, in a way, because she's the hero's inventory now. And what if the hero was an asshole hero who was a hoarder? And, you know, yeah, that would be nice. Too bad I have 2 interviews left to conduct today. They're painful. Oh no, interviews on what? It's a group project at university and my group mates are terrible. It's quite embarrassing. Oh no, why are they terrible? That's annoying. Are they assholes? But for anyone who's just coming in, we are looking through a list that the community submitted Halloween, and we're gonna shortlist the best ones, the ones we like most, and then we're gonna put up a poll so we can like vote. The one that wins will be the definite backstory, and the runners up will probably be side events that also happened in the backstory. And yeah, it's gonna be fun, guys. So while we're reading through this list, if there's any backstory that we're reading through that you're really drawn to, feel free to say chat, because I'll be more likely to include it on the poll than the ones that are popular. They don't do their work. Are they only at university to party? Are they dude bros? Yeah, they're dude bros. I said that dude bros are banned from playing Raindrop Chronicles, so but unfortunately I can't regulate the people who buy the game to such an extent. It's really annoying when teammates don't do their part, especially if it's a group grade. Yeah, they're just all incredibly lazy, even though this is a senior course. Well, I'll have to fail, and that's their own faults. Yeah, group projects suck. See, I'm more of a person that, which is ironic me saying this, but I'm more of a person that likes to work on my own, because you can never rely on others. And it's funny because I'm on Twitch doing an RPG that's very community driven. I remember when I was in college and I worked hard all the time. Unfortunately, I didn't have any group projects then. Yeah, because when it's just you are responsible for it then, and you have the control. See, picking your group makes a difference. Exactly. See, I have the control, and that's fine. It's fun to have like a group-driven project or something. If like you can like throw out whoever you deem unfit, or you can curate it to your wishes, then it's perfect then. But when you don't have that control and you just have to listen and put up with it, then yeah, it can suck. That's for sure. Maybe the barrels slowly become warped and weak due to continuous use weather. Then they are used as firewood when they aren't able to be used anymore. Yeah, Stumpy is being used for firewood in his side quest. So there'd be a parallel there. The weather thing is an interesting thought though. Like, how do barrels get affected by wear and tear in weather? And I'd say realistically they probably would. Where do they sleep and hang out? That's another thought, the barrels. They're in carts a lot, and obviously if they're on a wagon or a cart, they're likely to be okay because they've got shelter. But if they're just left outside, like on the side of a building in the rain, it's Raindrop Chronicles, of course, there's rain, that could, and that's why Hank's the oldest barrel. Hank's probably had a lot of wear and tear, and that's why he broke easily. Elvira's managed to stay quite shiny though throughout it all. Maybe it's because she demands to have the finest of shelter. And Rose, I'm working on that illustration right now, waiting on my boss to send me the project for the day, so I figured I'd go back to drawing. That's so exciting. Yeah, I'm so excited to see and share it with everybody once it's done. So if you wish, no pressure on my part, but if you want to send me and show me things as you do it, feel free to. I'm super excited. Okay, next one. I'm gonna just say I'm in love with a lot of ideas on this list, and I know that I'm not gonna be able to pick all of them, but I'm gonna keep this doc saved in a very precious place so I can look back at it, and there could be potentially moments on here for present day or future story elements, not necessarily just the backstory. I'm taking half the day off for these assignments, means I have to work this weekend though. Actually, I'm taking the full day off. Oh yeah, that's good. Day off, hyper. Yeah, definitely have the rest. I had a more of a rest day yesterday actually, because I was due for it, because this past week I've been really working away at those character sprites, doing the revamp design. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a lazy one today. But tonight I've got to do a lot of work again, because I'm going to prepare a really awesome video or GIF file showing the before and after of all the characters, so I can post it tomorrow for Screenshot Saturday. So keep an eye out on the social medias, guys, the Instagram and the Twitter, because the Screenshot Saturday will be going up. I feel like it's somewhat worthy of showing off, because I've only shown the rows before and after on the social medias. Just thought of this: termites living inside the barrel. Termites living inside the barrel and eating it. Yuck. Oh gosh. Yeah. And yeah, some of these could be definitely just things that happen in the actual game. A ship starts sinking, and to make the boat lighter, barrels are thrown overboard. Barrels go to the bottom of the ocean floor to rot away. Yeah, interesting. Another barrel fight though, and funny enough, the whole ship section of the game, we've already done the world map, and there's like a big ocean or bay area in between the beach, the coast zone of the game, and the desert and the jungle. They're the things bordering the bay. So, once we get to that segment of the game, which I think was in plan for end of episode 3 or start of episode 4, you never know. Oh, another barrel fate though, a less deadly one, would just be getting shipped off when somewhere distant brought something back from the farmlands but never sent them back. So one might be in the city or sandwich factory. Interesting. Imagine if the barrels were in the sandwich factory this whole time, or one of them was. Because some of the group might get separated, because you've got Hank and Woody who aren't very useful for the group because they can't hold raindrops very well. Another rather cruel story. Carol sees a group of teenagers playing with a barrel. They're standing on top of it and then the barrel moves, so they try to keep on top of it until the barrel falls apart in pieces and the teenagers just laugh about it. Yeah, that one was a really good one, and it's kind of similar to this. Someone climbed in a barrel and broke it from the inside out. I feel like that suggestion by Proto Man kind of is something that could be part of this suggestion too. Of Kongs. Along those lines, what if a bunch of kids are using barrels as target practice, throwing fruit, rotten fruit and bad eggs? I like the barrels being used for play ones because it's like the humans are just trying to be innocent and have fun, but the barrels see it as something horrible. So it doesn't paint humans in a bad light unless seen from a barrel's point of view. I love that one, yeah. So that could again link to that one and be part of the same event. Like they could throw the fruit, because we've already got fruit in this episode, right? They could throw the fruit at I mean, it wouldn't be the same living fruits, it would just be like non-sentient fruit that they've got, because there was a mention of like an event in the past when they had a food festival in Lakefall, and they had tomato juice and blueberry pie, and that was the event that made the fruits really angry because they were the kin of the fruits. Blueberry's mother and Tomato's brother got consumed at that festival, and that same festival could be when they were throwing fruits from the buffet at the barrels, the kids, and then they were playing with them and stood on them and went inside them and then broke the barrel. And that could also link with that, the Halloween festival idea too, because that's combining 3 or 4 ideas in the same flashback, and it works because they kind of are very similar and close related ideas, so it wouldn't feel too overcrowded. Basketball, barrel ball. What was this reference again? I noted it there because someone came in chat and mentioned it, and I thought, oh, I want to look at that. Kids inside a barrel, yeah. I wouldn't. Is it a cartoon? Oh, yeah. That's basically what's gonna happen. Yeah. Oops. I have no idea what's going on in this, but I'm very curious about the reference. Good afternoon, Rose. How are you? Hi, Code. How are you doing? So good to see you. We're doing barrel backstories today. We'll be having a poll today, everybody. We'll be putting a poll up so you can take part and cast your votes. It's gonna be a deciding factor on how Carol's backstory is shaped. So I hope everybody's ready. Why is this taking forever to load? Thank you, Coda, for those 50 bitters. Thank you very much. Just got my new game on Steam this morning. Very exciting. Some lore stuff today indeed. Lore stuff's always fun to do. We're kind of doing a lot on stream. I tried to anyway, because it's a really good thing that the community can do together, because we get to share ideas, and that's one of the most fun things about this project. But let's have some hype in chat for those bitters. Appreciate it, Coda. But congrats on the game Steam. How long did it take you to get that up? Put the link in chat if you'd like, and people can have a peek. Anyone in the stream can have a look and wishlist it. What's this? Is my ad blocker not working or something? Because I never used to got ads. I want to see the barrel part of this. Go away, adverts. Invading on my videos. You're never used to do this. Thanks, Rose. Yeah, it's yay, fragments. Awesome. I'll look at that myself after stream. Feel free to look chat at Code Pills Game. And you can always post it in the Creative Work channel on our Discord as well. If you're in there, that is. So it's up to you. Where's the barrel bit? I want to see the barrel bit, but it doesn't seem to be here. Probably just some kids breaking the barrel, maybe, and that's what the reference was. Okay, so maybe while Oil Drum, Axel, Meryl's boyfriend, was in Lightfall, he was used as a burning barrel. Not sure if that would be horrible itself, but it could play into something. And I know that we talked about Axel last stream and his relationship with his dad being bad as well, and mentioned something about that then as well. So that's on the VOD, so I'll be looking for it and making VOD notes of that soon. The cardboard box could have been used to abandon a litter of kittens and puppies. Or the cardboard box could have been used for love letters and heartbreak letters, memories of people that have died. I think that idea would go well with Woody since he's so afraid of rejection. Memories of people that have died, and coincidentally, we have graves, people that died in Lakefall, don't we? So Woody, of course, all the boxes, all the containers were from Everbloom Forest. They originated from there, and they kind of go to and from Everbloom and the nearby farmlands for trade routes and journeys, but it's only ever those two zones they have been living, really, so it kind of would make sense as well having letters within him related to those that did die from the war. There's a link and I think it fits. And the puppy one was good. Maybe that's something that could happen in a future event with Woody. We can't fill out his backstory too much and have nothing for the present day or future. We're going to have lots of story there throughout. Okay, so Oliver learns to summon a phantasmal red hand to catch people that steal cookies from him red-handed. That's funny. Do the barrels have... Because poor Oliver's very weak and fragile. It'd be quite interesting if he ended up OP somehow. I do like that he's fragile and innocent and precious though, because it makes us care about him and worry about him. If he was too OP, we wouldn't need to worry about him. So if we were ever going to do something like that, it would probably have to be Endgame. Amazing. Do the barrels have a baker builder in the story? Maybe you could introduce an evil human to your idea there. Well, kind of already have. Yes, we do. They do have a maker builder, an accidental one. And a scary thing would be if, while the characters left Everbloom and rode through the farmland, a monster came out of the field, like with a hot hayride. Interesting. So, and that was just us talking about the items that would potentially be in the barrels. And if anybody in the future or on stream mentioned items that could be in the barrels that affect how they act, I'm going to add it to this list, because we've had a few over time. Okay, now time for the shortlisting. It's the exciting times now. We've read through the list. So many good ideas. I know, how am I going to shortlist such a genius list of ideas? Well, that's just it. None of them are going to be deleted, because like I said, so many of these, while I was reading through it, will be useful for present day and future events in the game. Because we can't make everything backstory, because then we'll have too many flashbacks to show and not enough present day events to enjoy. Present day events are the things that are fun, because you know that's what's ahead. Those are the things that are ahead that we don't know about yet, that's not yet affected our characters. But we're going to have to think what will work as the most appropriate backstory bits. Now, the ones that stuck out to me particularly, I'm going to go back, I'm not going to do this in order. Or maybe I should do it in order, I don't know. But definitely, so the ones that aren't going to bold, it's because I feel they'll work more for a future event. For example, I really love this one. It's funny, but it'll make more sense in the future when we actually do meet the Prime Minister and we can see a speech in game and watch it happen. So that'd be the perfect present day event. Present day event. So and I'm only going to bold things that link to Carol as well and her backstory, because that's the focus today. So that one, because it links to this idea that Kung had. So I'm going to bold that one and this one as well. Because I feel that these particular ideas, as well as the, where is it? The festival. So the ones I've currently bolded are all like sort of linked and could work as for the part in the game that happened in Nightfall when they had a food festival, which also was where the fruits we consumed tomatoes, brother, and blueberries, mother. And those, what was at the special buffet was loads of fruit that got thrown at the barrels, and the kids were just doing it for fun, kids being kids, and from their point of view they don't know what they're doing, and then it's not bad because they don't know the barrels are alive. But for the barrels it's absolutely awful, and then it can link into that and end with that horrible event. So it would all play out as this fun party where people are having fun, but all this horrible dark stuff is actually happening, really, and then it ends. It's a bit of a juxtaposition. So you've got a party and a festival, a seasonal Halloween-like festival. It doesn't necessarily have to be Halloween, it could be a summer festival, but they could still have their own like little sort of rituals and things that make it a unique festival to this world and this and Everbloom. So we can think of unique ideas, make our own seasonal festival. We don't have to copy Halloween or Christmas or anything like that. We can kind of do our own if we want. So I'm going to give that, I'm going to make it a certain colour. What's the colour of a party? Fuchsia is a little bit bright. We'll make it orange. Orange is a good party colour, right? Because that way if we colour code them, then we keep the related ideas together. We won't get confused as much. Hopefully I've not missed anything out that links to this, but we're going to go through it again because I'm going to bold some of the ones because we want plenty of choice on the poll, and the whole purpose of the poll is to see what is the most loved and popular out these all ideas. Okay, so humans could, okay, there's so many good ones, honestly. Like, I love the thrown up inside one and this one as well, but they're the fit for an actual present day event, I feel. So okay, we're gonna add this one to the poll as well. I hope we can have room on the Discord polls to do this. I'll have to do a test, and I'm gonna make this one grey because it's super depressing, and grey is a depressing colour. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to just be one event either that would shape Carol like this. So even though we're going to do in a poll, we might just have them all on the list, or the top few, the ones that get the highest. This is I feel very fitting for both Hank and Elvira. This could be a potential side quest. That could be a potential feature in the Everbloom Forest that I'd make. This is one that we could go ahead with as well, or make this one blue, because it's the colour of a waterfall. I'm going to make that blue as well because it is related to the waterfall idea. They're both linked. That is really cool, but could be a present day event. Definitely could see that happening. Termites eating, living inside the barrel and eating it. Yeah, that could be a story we give one of the barrels in the present day as well. The ship stuff is cool as well. Maybe because we're not going to on the ship until a later episode, there'll be a point in the game where we get to the coast and get to go on a ship. I'm sure we will, because we've already planned the world map and a sort of episode outline, very vague one. But maybe when we get to that episode, we find out a story of one of the container characters where their kin got thrown to the bottom of the ocean floor and rotted away. But we don't find out about that story until the point that we're on the boat, because it gives that particular character a flashback of a bad memory or something. LOL, been trying to see if my little sprite walking in full body, but he always hides behind folks, yeah? They're pretty cool. Their faces, because we only have the right walking side thing, it gets flipped when they walk left. So, for example, Rose's scar is on the wrong side of her face sometimes. It's not, but when she walks the other way, it's on the right, the proper side of her face. It's weird how stream avatars do it. But that's how they've coded it. But it still looks decent. It doesn't look bad or anything, but it's slightly inaccurate, and it'll be proper in game, of course, because Rose's scar is there, not there. Yeah, saw that. Hi, Kungo. How you doing? I've bolded your idea about the kids playing on the barrels and the tragic story. Hee. Very brief, haha. It's so cool seeing you all walking round. So, even though I'm only colour coding a handful of these, believe me, a lot of this list will in some way make it into a story element. But I'm only specifically bolding the ones that are going to work as a Carol flashback, or something that's affected Carol herself. And yeah, this is perfect for Woody, but I'm not going to bold it because it's for Woody specifically, not Carol. but I can see it definitely happening for Woody. So funnily enough, like looking through, the rest might be better present day things, but the ones I've bolded are definitely good backstory stories. So we've got the event where they have the festival, the party, and they throw food at the barrels and the kids play inside them and then break them. We got the tragic baby story, and we also have, what was the other colour, the waterfall one. Now, of course, we couldn't have the waterfall one, this particular one, if both Carol's parents died from the party festival event where the kids were playing, then they also couldn't ride off the edge of the waterfall as well, you know, because we kind of, both things happened to the same two characters. So so unless only one of the parents died at the festival and the other went missing from this. Interesting, because I like both stories, and funnily enough, these could all be used. There's not really, other than that little thing that it can't happen, you know, twice to the same characters. We could easily use all these, so it's not like we'd have to do a poll and choose between two contrasting ideas. So I don't even know if we need to do a poll, surprisingly. It's actually worked okay, and the ideas are all workable. So, okay, so looking at everything, I definitely think this one I've highlighted orange it should be the key backstory event for Carol's parents' deaths. I think they should both have died at that part. I do like the waterfall thing, and I think we can still integrate that in the story, because I really love the idea of making the waterfall have some use and be linked in that with the barrels. So even if we don't use it for you know, the fates of Carol's parents, we could still use it for a side quest or a story element in the present day. The baby thing is a question mark. I love that idea. I think it's super dark. The question is how it would have made Carol hate humans. That's the only thing, because that's just a tragic thing that nobody really was to blame. Well, I suppose the father's to blame and the person who never came. But I'm wondering if that should be Carol, because it could something like that could have affected one of the other characters. Because children, babies, and Carol, I don't know whether Carol's misbeliefs and fears are very much linked to children strongly enough. But there's other barrels we've got. We have Meryl and Elvira. And they need backstories too. Meryl, it's a good thing to think of Meryl and Axel as characters, because they are a romantic couple that can't have children because they can't have kids because they're a barrel and oil drum, so they can't actually physically have a baby, but they might want a family because they are a couple in love and very likely could easily want to start a family together but can't. And the baby story could fit better with Meryl than Carol. Meryl being someone who's more potentially motherly like, in the fact that she's got a partner. Carol is pretty anti-romance, and well, she definitely is at this point in time. And Carol's story is shaped more around her dislike for being accepted and humans being cruel to barrels, and that her anger has sort of developed from that those things. Whereas Meryl is less angry than Carol as a person. But she could easily have her own dark backstory too. We gotta make Meryl lovable. Each of these characters are going to be fleshed out and have the backstories, and we've also talked about Woody, that having the sad love letters in him for his backstory, and I think that works perfectly for Woody. But of course, thinking of Meryl, Elvira and Hank is good too. So the baby story could be a Meryl backstory more than a Carol one. I think the one that we've bolded in yellow is something Carol should have personally witnessed to form her hatred for humans. Seeing what happened at that food festival and the kids killing her parents in front of her eyes. And I have another interview relatively soon. I'll catch up with you next time. Take care, Artifacts. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I hope that that interview treats you well and your uni mates start to be awesome. Hopefully. Hi Matt, how are you doing? Meryl, it might make sense for, because it will help explain why she's so into Axel's distrust of parents. Yeah, that's another thing too, which I didn't actually cross my mind. But it just fits for Meryl. Like I that story's dark. I really like it. I think it's powerful. And obviously as a creative person that enjoys directing scenes and stuff, I'd be excited to make a scene like that in a weird way and sort of put it together and figure out how it all unfolds and is revealed to the player in a flashback. But it definitely just screams Meryl more than Carol, simply because the Carol that we've built doesn't seem to even have any sort of attachment or opinion on children. She's kind of very indifferent and aloof to children. It's not really part of her story. It's all about being included, being accepted, being trusted with Carol. She's cynical. She's the orphan archetype. I don't know if anyone knows of that archetype. Let's have a look. Is it a Jungian? Is it the Jungian archetype? One sec. How are you doing, Matt, though? I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. I mean, we don't have to like completely follow the archetype because that's too rigid to do that, but it can help like give ideas. And I was like looking through them all, and Carol seems to fit best with that particular one because what they want, they're the most cynical. They're also open and very sort of a realist. And that Carol's definitely that. I feel like it's an interesting path to develop Meryl more as a character as well, and think about her and Axel's relationship and the struggles they've had, because to me Axel and Meryl are going to be misunderstood. We're going to go into this game thinking there must be some toxic relationship because Elvira doesn't approve and Errol's this bad boy oil drum that's got these horrible tales to tell about, you know, to all of us. So it doesn't give a good first impression, but really it's not like that. They're actually the perfect couple. And Axel really loves Meryl. He's not perfect. He is a bad boy and he's flawed and he likes danger. But you know, I think it'd be nice if it was actually a genuine love story between them rather than a toxic relationship that one might assume. And it's kind of like to hit back at Elvira for being so against them as a couple, and I think it's relatable as well to all the people that have had parents disapprove of their relationships, and it's like that forbidden romance parallel again. Hi Rex, how are you doing? It's so good to see you, Carlos Handsome. I put your Twitch link in my chat earlier. We were talking about you. I'm doing well today. I need to decide what books and things to ask for because my mum still wants to give me stuff on my birthday. Oh, yeah, what books are you going to get? And happy birthday in advance. Yeah, Watery Tart came in stream, and Watery Tart is the composer of Fate's Fort. So I told him that you were playing the game when I put the link, so he could look at the VODs. So I'm gonna say here, make a note. Ideal backstory idea for Meryl. So that means back to Carol now. I'm glad that some of these have kind of brought branches to the other characters though. Always nice to have folks that still want to send prez. It seems as you get older things like that disappear. Yeah, I feel very lucky because my parents still get me loads of stuff, even though I'm a grown up now. They've always like spoilt me in regards to things like that. So I hope you have a good birthday, Matt. When is it? Alright, so I almost love Meryl that bit much more after knowing that that's probably going to be her backstory. I feel like she could be an amazing character, like in her own way, not just some rip-off version of Carol, because she's nothing like Carol. She's very different. And that's going to have to make us consider how Meryl behaves and is affected by that event as well. But it feels like very natural right now because we've already had the whole like Met mentioned. It would make sense for her because it explains why she's so into Axel's distrust of parents. She doesn't like her own grandparents that much either. Well, not Elvira anyway. Elvira and Meryl have a very, very hot, like, very intense relationship because of the arguments, Elvira's disapproval and overprotectiveness. While Carol is raising Oliver as her child already, so she's going to be protective of children anyway. Yeah. That's true as well. Carol's got Oliver, and he is a non-human child. So it's like, it's true. I did kind of dismiss the idea that Carol's into children because she is. She has Oliver. But she definitely doesn't seem affected. It'd be interesting to consider how Meryl might be affected a little bit more, like what that would do to a person who's gone through that. It's kind of very hard to fathom because it's just so tragic. But would it potentially make them not even want children? Would it make them the opposite? Would it make them want to look after all the children? Or would it make them just dislike parents? I recently saw a book on Neat Math Stuff mentioned in a video, and someone I've been hanging out with online for a long time finally finished the first chapter of his webcomic and published it as a book. Oh, that's exciting. Ooh, super cool. 22nd December, you're a Christmas baby then. Well, close. Double presents, that means. Well, if that 9-story idea was with Carol, that may be why she's so protective of Oliver, yeah. So the only thing why it felt less of a Carol story to me was because no human in this scenario really is evil or it's all one of those just tragic accidents that happened of no one's fault. I mean, you could technically blame the person that never came, for sure. They're responsible. But there could have been a number of reasons why that person never came. And I don't know whether you could automatically hate humans forever because one person never came. That person could have got killed or anything could have happened. They could have been forgetful. It's pretty bad, but you know, it's a very confusing scenario, but it's more family orientated. Carol's also an inventory as well. She also says to the hero that she's never had anyone inside her before, and that's kind of like something to think about too, because that would mean we'd have to redo that dialogue where she's how is it worded again exactly? I wouldn't want to give Carol all the story either, because all the characters are very much deserving of being fleshed out. We don't want to like just force all the tragic or backstory events on Carol specifically either. So that's just something to consider if it is more fitting for someone else. Because I want Meryl to be a good character. I'm passionate about that now. Yeah, so she says, nobody has ever been beside me before. I feel so violated. She's very, very like funny. She doesn't like humans touching her, which you could always say, well, she was so traumatized by that event that's why she doesn't like people in her now, because of what happened back then. So, you know, she wants to be sure that Oliver never is unwanted. She could be distrustful of human intentions. That doesn't seem to match Carol's attitude towards humans, since then she'd have a reason to think them as tragic instead of scary and annoying. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. There's something sticking out to me that just doesn't mesh with Carol, and I think to some degrees it does. Like you brought up, it was brought up just about, that could be why she's protective of Oliver, which definitely makes sense. But there's something about the feel of this flashback that doesn't match with Carol, the angry Carol personality. I feel like someone who's experienced this would be more depressed. It may be, rather than angry. Like almost like, but this one, the orange one I've made coloured, that would definitely make you feel anger without a doubt, because of the people having a party and throwing things and then just breaking the barrels from them having fun would really be enough to just make you angry if you witness such an event. So I feel like the orange stuff that I've highlighted suits the something that Carol witnessed. So it's just that, yeah, the feel of this flashback, the mood of it is just very different to the orange coloured one. The orange one is, you'd be furious, mad, angry, like just, yeah, angry. And this is very opposite. This is sad, tragic, horrible, and yeah. And hi, Del Beggar, how you doing? Are you making the pics like too? To some degree I get involved with assets, but it's more about just doing and putting together what I can. I don't do everything from scratch myself. A lot of it is made by others, because this is a huge project, absolutely massive. I can't do everything on my own, folks. Oh well, another idea, that is Meryl's story, but welcome to Street Beggar. I'll call you Beggar because it's easy to say, or I can call you Dal, whatever you prefer. Another idea, that is Meryl's story, but Carol was told by Meryl about it. That's why Meryl doesn't take care of Oliver, because Meryl is still trying to get over the tragedy. For Carol, it's just one more thing why she doesn't like humans. Yeah, that could work too, because the Barrels have to have bonding moments where they've like confided in each other and they know of each other's little tales, and I could imagine that sisterly discussion happening where Meryl opened up to Carol about such a thing, and because Carol didn't directly experience it herself, she's not experiencing the heartache Meryl is, but she enough to make her think, well, I'm making sure Oliver's looked after, and that could work for sure. And yeah, I think I want to do some research into how something like this could affect someone, so that I can make sure Meryl's behaviour is consistent to someone who's been through this, or something of this nature. because I feel like their personality to some degree would be suffering from grief and anxiety. I don't know about anxiety, but definitely grief, and you'd be very, very sad inside. And yeah, Carol and Oliver, that's another thing to consider, because Oliver and Carol, from what we've seen of that flashback sequence, when Carol told Oliver the story, she really doesn't care about scaring Oliver. She's being playful, of course, it's not ill intentions with her, but she seems to not be bothered about, him being, she's not overprotective with him. She's telling him all these dark tales that Axel's passed on to her. And I guess you could say it's a, defense mechanism. She's experienced that, and it's made her a little bit hardened. And that's why she doesn't take care of him. But would Beryl want her own children with Axel? She can't, because she can't have kids. She's a Beryl. But maybe that's something maybe she doesn't want kids. Maybe she wants to just be her and Axel and be this codependent couple forever, just them, nobody else in the world. It could kind of go down that route with her and Axel too. And Axel wouldn't want children, because he's a dangerous, very adventurous man, and that wouldn't be a good father figure. So they probably might not make the ideal parents, but they would still be couple goals. I think that, they're not going to be the perfect couple. They're flawed, they're codependent. Axel's, a bit of a dangerous man, but I think the love's going to be there, and there's going to be moments where we're like, actually, these two are good together, and it's kind of wholesome in a weird way. So yes, back to the orange story now. So I was going to do a poll, but it's probably not necessary, because it seems like this highlighted orange story just is the perfect one. The perfect key backstory event. And everything else could fit as present day moments, or little tiny things that other tiny parts of particular characters' backstories. Okay, so I think we should make a new document just to sort of shape this particular backstory, because it's all like separated right now, so we'll get the ideas down. But I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on that list, because there's going to be many that are useful for the future. But I'm kind of happy with thinking of Meryl a bit more, because it'd be awesome, wouldn't it, if each of those container characters were like super fleshed out and had their own fears, like, and deep misbeliefs and things. And I guess Meryl's misbelief, now we've considered that for Meryl, her misbelief would be parents don't look after their children. That's the simplest. What would be the moral lesson? Well, what would you have learned if you experienced this? I guess, because that's the first one that stuck out to me. Parents neglect their kids. Kids shouldn't live in this world. Kids must be protected. Kids. This world is too harsh for kids or anything like that. I just think it's too cruel for them. This isn't right. There's no justice. They're a close group, so they'd know about each other's problems for sure. Okay, so we'll call this Carol's backstory. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this up, the orange one, and then we're going to structure it. Think about a timeline and all things like that. So what we're going to rhyme first, because it's everywhere right now. Maybe, well, anything less than harmful than complete abandonment must be good enough parenting if this is ever allowed. Yeah. That's a point as well. And that would work with Marilyn, why she doesn't really look after kids. Definitely something to consider, and because we've just thought of the idea with that being Meryl's story, it might take a bit of time to like properly shape it and figure out Meryl's sort of feelings and about it all. But it's it's interesting. I think we've done well for now, for this early on. Okay, so. Where's the first bit? Okay, so there is a festival I haven't put Halloween festival because I don't know whether it might not be Halloween. It could be a summer festival. It all depends on what suits best, because there's going to be lots of fruit on the table and there's going to be this food buffet and things, and because it's also going to be the same event that caused the deaths of the fruits, the tomatoes brother and Blueberry's mother. When if you've seen the scene with the fruits, Lemon says that Blueberry's mother was baked into a pie and Tomato's brother was squeezed into tomato juice. So those two lines get mentioned in dialogue. So this could also be the event that caused their deaths as well, because the tomato juice and the blueberry pie could have been at the buffet. And then the kids will pick up the fruits and throw them at the barrels, and everything's going to be a disaster. It's going to be this complete juxtaposition, a happy party, everybody enjoying themselves, thinking it's the best thing ever. But for the barrels, it's this horrible, dark, tragic thing. And I think that's really interesting. That's why I was particularly drawn to this one. Not another boy, it's a daily thing now. Ban. Some great stories indeed, yeah. Super happy with them. They're all so good. You guys are super creative. So there is a seasonal festival in Lakeville. I'll be vague about what the festival is. I mean, we can flesh that seasonal festival out together if we want, whether it's more of a summer festival or a Halloween festival, you know. I feel like Everbloom Forest itself gives me spring and summer vibes, whereas the Farmlands feels more to me, with its orangey red tones, whereas Everbloom Forest has the more green and brighter springy summery colours. But We don't have a summer festival here in planet Earth, do we really? We have Halloween, Christmas, Easter, and then just the summer. And then, well, an easy one is a general harvest festival. Oh yeah, that would work as the perfect spring-summer sort of one. Okay, so... Well, my tummy's doing a rumble. I'll cross these tabs up. So, there is a seasonal festival in Lakefall, okay? Now, let's get the juicy information in now. And it doesn't mean we don't have to have a Halloween festival as well in the future. It just might make an appearance in a slightly later episode when it's more relevant. Things could have been used for things, the barrels still. I mean, obviously the kids wouldn't be able to go inside them if they was holding candy in this particular scene. No, they'd probably have to be empty. We don't want to be too ambitious with the scene, because otherwise it'll be a real challenge to animate and, you know, it'd be hard work, but we'll try and see what we can do. I mean, we want to be ambitious, don't get me wrong, but we also have to be careful what we say that the kids do and that, because otherwise it could be like, well, that's a bit hard to animate. Okay, so we'll have the target practice thing happen first. There is lots of food. There is lots of food, including a blueberry pie and tomato juice. I'm specifically stating those because that's what Lemon mentioned in the dialogue, that they, you know, the humans ate them. Blueberry's mother and tomato's brother. Let's make this a little bit smaller so we can... Yeah, we need that. Or another option is a Lakefall Founding Festival, celebrating the day that the town was set up, talking tales of old heroes. Yeah, so maybe with the water as well, like spring's first rain, and people talk about their families' histories coming into town and celebrating togetherness. Thus, all the games and fun between the town members. Yeah, that could work for sure. And you know, the harvest and things like that, like anything related to the environment, like Kung's mentioned with the water, that could be on the calendar too. I mean, whether that would be what this is, I don't know, but I could see us making a calendar eventually of the festivals, even if not all of them make it in the game in an actual scene. It's good to like plan a sort of rough calendar of things so that we know, because then it can get mentioned in dialogue for a past event. Even a music festival, well, that's something as well. I mean, whether music is something that's celebrated in Everbloom is a question mark, but I can definitely imagine that one of the zones that we go to could be focused with that. Maybe the farmlands could be more with that, because all these things are fun, like, you know, like filling out the lore and making it feel like a real living, breathing world. So I'd like every zone to have like some kind of celebrations to some degree that get mentioned. So there's lots of food, including blueberry pie and tomato juice. A bunch of kids are using the... But as for your ideas, Kung and Van, awesome. I might not put them in just yet, but I'll flesh it out, and I'll make a note when I'm looking through the VOD as well. We'll just get the key information in first, and all those little details and extra bits can come in after of what it is. I like Van's idea because it's an excuse to sort of talk about historical figures as well, and bring up the families that died in the war, and sort of bring in that without it feeling like exposition out of nowhere, and like giving it some relevance and purpose for being talked about. There's lots of food included. A bunch of kids are using the so that really I'm combining Xaver and Kung's ideas here. So Kung's idea is the tragic end, and that's how, obviously, this is the part that makes Carol angry, because that would, like, that bit that I'm highlighting would just make you feel such anger inside you if you've witnessed that event. And it's not even the kids' fault, because they didn't know the barrels were alive, right? And it just makes it even more interesting, because Carol's actually disliking those particular humans for a reason that she shouldn't, really, because it's just ignorance and being unaware rather than pure evilness. It sparks some creativity, yeah. So it's really good, like, that you two, Kung and Xaver, bounced off that idea together, because it's really formed this really cool flashback event now that we're using for this scene. Hi out, Royal Reaper, how you doing? Looks like RPG Maker art style at least. Oh, the sprites here. Yeah, we've got the recently changed from the small sprites to the tall sprites. So and gave them new eyes as well. I thought of this as an MMO. Oh no, it's not an MMO, the opposite. It's a single player RPG game. Very, very not an MMO. I mean, to some degree, there's MMO inspirations. I'm inspired by Final Fantasy XIV and the way they do their quest markers and quest journaling and things like that. And I think we'll probably use that kind of inspiration to a certain degree with the quest mechanics in Raindrop Chronicles. But of course, not the multiplayer aspect, none of that. Okay, so a bunch of kids are using barrels as we'll say playing and using the barrels as target practice. Throwing fruit. So it links, because we've already got fruit on the buffet from the festival anyway, so that we can kind of just remind people what happened to Blueberry and Tomato's relatives, but they're right there. But also we kill two birds with one stone, because we're also using those same fruits that are there on that buffet to make the barrel's lives a misery. I like the barrels being used for play ones, because it's like the humans are just trying to be innocent and have fun, but the barrels see it as something horrible, so it doesn't paint humans in bad light unless seen from a barrel's point of view, exactly, which is exactly what draws me to this story. So, thank you, Outworld Reaper, for that follow as well. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good Friday. Now, the Kung bit. They're standing on top of it. They're playing with the barrel, they're standing on top of it, and then the barrel moves. So they try to keep on top of it until the barrel falls apart in pieces and the teenagers just laugh about it. So that's what's going to happen now. So this is just part one. We'll put here, Carol is... Where could Carol be in this flashback then? Because it's obviously very busy. There's a lot of people here. A lot of food, lot of objects lying around. We'll probably have to make another map for this, by the way, because I am going to be expanding Lakefall in a future playable build. Not playable build 1, but by playable build 2 you might see a slightly bigger Lakefall. Carol is watching. We know Carol's watching, but it's where she's standing that's the question. She's obviously got to be at a viewable distance and be able to see and witness these kids playing. So these barrels are Carol's parents. I mean, she could be right next to them. If she's there, then maybe she's the podium at the time for the mayor of the town to talk about Founding Day. And she'll be on the stage with the mayor leaning on her. Oh, yeah. And that kind of brings in what Met's idea was here. Where was it? Where's it gone? Here. Carol gets used as a podium by a politician and just finds it very frustratingly boring. So I like that that could get brought in for sure. And it starts off, Carol's like, oh, let's just let this boring event be done and over with, please. Like, she finds it really dull. And then everything just kicks off there. So Carol's emotions are just so all over the place in this scene. She starts as being bored, then she starts being annoyed because of the politician being there, then she's horrified, then she's like upset because she sees her family having things thrown at them, and then it just ends in absolute anger and horror because of their deaths. So it's just like a mess, a big mess of a day for Carol, this is. Yep, and then she gets to see everything happen. We're all going to hate humanity by the time this game is released. Yeah, well, I think we got to be careful, because I think we want to make the humans, to some degree, not at fault for everything that happens. Like, I think that's the one thing, like, about this flashback. The humans, actually, can you really blame those children for what they did? I mean, it's awful, but only from the barrel's point of view, because the kids are just innocent and think that they're having fun. They aren't aware of really what they're doing, and that these barrels are alive, and maybe if they knew what they did, they'd absolutely be torn apart in grief and guilt. Because these kids, let's also remember, they're going to be NPCs that are living in Lakefall with us today. Maybe at some point you can go up to them and tell them what they did. You can be like, do you know that you killed 2 barrels? And then you get to see their guilt, them go through the guilt. Carol would hate those humans when she sees them. And it just brings all the memories back. But yes, there will definitely be some bad humans as well in the bunch, but there'll also be lovable humans, and there'll also be humans that are just very grey, kind of flawed, but also lovable in a way too. But then the kids might say if they were alive they could have said something. Yeah, so it's an interesting scenario to think about, because it's very likely that at some point we're gonna talk to these kids that did this. We're gonna see them, we're gonna recognise them as the kids from the flashback. The thing is, we might meet them before the flashback, and then we'll think, oh, it's those kids. I've already spoke to them earlier, those NPCs, and then we might get the opportunity to actually tell them it within the dialogue. We might get that choice. We might get the choice to keep quiet, but we might also get the choice to just tell them. So it depends on what style of hero you're playing as here. If you're a bit of a bold hero that likes causing trouble, you might tell him. You might do it for Carol's sake as well, so she can get closure. And maybe they say barrels aren't alive. That's stupid, yeah, because that's another thing as well. The villagers in Lightfall have got different beliefs about this thing about things coming to life. Some of them are in denial. Some just outright just think it's ridiculous and a conspiracy. Others very much believe it's true. Others just blame the reptiles and say, no, nothing's alive, it's just the reptiles. And others will be, there'll be a multitude of different thoughts and beliefs about it all. And at this point in the past, the recent past when this event happened, people in Lightfall probably just weren't aware things were alive at this point. It's only very recently that people's eyes have started to be open to it, but some are still in denial. Yeah, I also think it would be cute to have a Meryl scene where a child players dress up with her so she sees both sides of humanity, draws lipstick on her face, puts the bra on her, makes her pretty. Oh my goodness, yes. The forming of Meryl, what made her the way she is, because once upon a time, she was just a naked, plain old barrel. She was just a normal, boring, beige barrel. But somebody put bra and lipstick on her. And I think that's a really wholesome tale. It makes me smile just thinking about it, actually. So, yeah. And Meryl, even if Meryl has that really tragic past about the baby, she's also experienced something nice as well. And that might be why she's got a softer heart than Carol. Because Meryl will have a softer heart than Carol. But I also think Meryl's a very strong person too. She's been through a lot. Someone who's been through that can go through anything. And she's not this feeble person who needs to be protected from a bad boy oil drum. She can handle herself well. I think Carol can handle herself well, but I think it's mostly just bravado with Carol. I think she's a lot more incapable than she lets on. She's got a lot of ego and arrogance. But I think Meryl genuinely can do more than what people credit her for as well. I think out of the Barrel family, Carol, Meryl and Elvira are definitely the strongest. And Hank and Woody and Oliver are the weakest. So it's flipped, like the gender thing, like the female characters in the Barrel family are definitely the stronger people and able to sort of handle themselves better. And give it as good as they get, whereas the male characters are more fragile and hopeless. Woody being a cardboard box, he definitely has, he's a little bit deluded and thinks he's someone special and this really handsome guy, but all he is really is a cardboard box, and he's not very strong. And Hank, he's a wonderful, knowledgeable fellow, very nice, but in personality he's quite submissive, and also he gets a bit broken. But he could go through an interesting arc where he sort of discovers his strength as well, perhaps. And Oliver is obviously very weak because he's made of ceramics. So, and hi Chub Cheeks, how are you doing? So good to see you. So the kid creates Meryl. We need some smiles in this too. Yeah, I'd say that the kid in the flashback van described Meryl's creation. Well, not her creation, but when her clothes were put on and her makeup. She was obviously already created before then. I think that should be a girl, a female child character. And the kids that are playing on should be boys, perhaps. Boys are a little bit more, would use things as target practice and throw things. I guess not all boys. There could be a girl in there too that's more adventurous. But I think a little girl character could have done that to Meryl. Someone like Fiona Buckington would be doing the target practice, I think, because she's quite an adventurous one, Fiona. She goes into the forest bravely and makes deals with evil fruits to protect her cowardly brother. So parallels again. Fiona and Nigel. Nigel's very cowardly and Fiona's very capable. So again, you got the weak male guy and the strong female. And we need some smiles in this too, yeah. We're going to have a mix, guys. We're going to have the tragic stories and we're going to have scary or like sort of almost spine-chilling stories. But we'll also have wholesome stories and wholesome tales and very funny moments and amusing moments throughout as well. I'm very kind of not. I don't want everything to be dark or tragic. I want a mix. I want a mix of the wholesome and a mix of the dark. I think that's kind of the tone I'm going for. Because then I think, people don't know where they are. They don't know if they're going to get wholesome next or if they're going to get the tragic. So it's more of a shock then, more of a surprise. Whereas if a story is just 100% tragic, people know what they're getting then, and they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be another sad quest, or this is going to be another, and it gets predictable. So it's me, Chubs. Hey Chubs, how are things? How are you doing? What have you been up to, Chub? But I love that. It made me smile. And I'd love to make the scene. Oh my goodness. We'll have to think about how we're going to sort of filter through and reveal these little flashbacks, because the barrel characters aren't in the present time. Well, they're not with us in the present time. They're in another part of the world because they've been kidnapped by Chub Cheeks. So even though they're not with us in the present day, and we're probably not going to find them for a while in the present day, they're still going to be very much part of the story. And whether it's all shown in flashbacks or what, we'll have to cleverly think of how it's all going to be revealed and shown, some of these moments. And because Carol is with us as a party member, she can tell us a lot about the stories too through dialogue. But I want to make use of flashbacks as well for some scenes, because they'd be better to show us actual scenes visually. The ceiling is up. Oh my gosh, the time. Let's get the rest of this scene in before we finish though. So, there's a seasonal festival in Lakefall. There is lots of food, including a blueberry pie and tomato juice. A bunch of kids are having fun playing. They use the barrels as target practice, throwing fruit at them. These barrels are Carol's parents. So I think Carol needs to be mentioned earlier on. Carol is watching. Now, how did we say that? From a distance. We won't say watching, we'll say Carol is at the podium by the mayor, who is making a speech about, you know, the event that's going on, filling all the details after. Making a speech, so we can bold that and make it orange, considering we've made it part of that flashback now. Be funny if that's an ongoing running joke that she gets used as a podium by politicians. She could get used by one by Trattoria later on in the game, maybe as well. It's like, give me this barrel, this'll do, and then does a boring speech. And then it's kind of a callback to this. And she's like, not again. I kind of like repeated callbacks sometimes. Okay, so Carol is at the podium by the mayor, who is making a speech. A bunch of kids are having fun playing. Well, they'd have fun playing after the speech, wouldn't they? After the speech, a bunch of kids start having fun playing. They use barrels as target practice, throwing fruit at them. These barrels are Carol's parents. Carol watches. Can't trust you with anything, Wooden. Wooden, don't take my Woody away from me. Chubb loves Woody. Chubb has a man crush on Woody, and I love it because Woody needs love. Woody, we're going to make sure Woody has an amazing character arc in this game. I think the goal is for each of the container characters to have key character arcs in this game. I don't want them to just be background characters or just the MacGuffin that we're chasing throughout the whole saga. I want them to genuinely be heavily involved, which is a challenge considering they're not with us in the present day, but we'll figure it out. I mean, I'm sure the point when we finally meet them, they'll become even more key into the story, but for the first half of the story, at least, they're not with us in the present day, probably. So Carol's watching. Now the next part, then the kids. It's going to be fun, mate. Doing this is making me excited to finally make the NPCs delightful, because as you know, we've only got Nigel and Fiona so far, and that other character that finds Hero and the Carol in scene 1, who is like, what's this Lucas, you know, we got that mysterious character as well. And we've got a mayor mentioned, we've got kids, we've got this kid who's going to put the lipstick on Meryl, and all these other NPCs as well that are going to be there in Lakefall. I mean, it's not going to be the most populated little village because it's small, and there'll only be a certain amount of hammocks that we can fit on trees, but it's definitely going to have maybe a dozen people or so living here. And then you've got the people living in the forest like Aelandra as well, because not everyone lives in Lakefall. Some are just outsiders who just live in the forest. Woody has a bunch of cool potential, for sure he does. And I just remember I did that Woody fan art. He's that useless cardboard box that wants to have a purpose. That's Woody's character arc, basically. And he brings the comic relief as he does it. Then the kids. So I think it's a cool thing to make all the containers have relatable stories to some degree, because they're non-human characters, but they're still going to have relatable stories that us playing can relate to. Like, a lot of people would be able to relate to that, like feeling useless but wanting to have a purpose in the world. That's like a very common thing that a lot of people have. So they'd be able to relate to Woody from that. And same with Carol. A lot of people would relate to feeling excluded and not part of a group and bullied. And Meryl, people would be able to relate to the whole forbidden romance story as well, with her and Axel not being approved of. People may be able to relate to Hank as well, with him being disabled, but he'll come through it. And Elvira, would people relate to Elvira? She's the one that is probably going to be the least loved out the containers, because she's so prejudiced. But we can make her like very complicated. We can make her of qualities that we really love as well. And then we just love Oliver because he's cute. His purpose is to be my husband. Yeah, I feel like when we think of romanceable characters, I don't want Carol to be the only romanceable non-human character. So I think if anybody else was going to be romanceable in the group, in the container group, it would be Woody, because it's obviously not going to be Hank or Elvira because they're a married couple. It obviously won't be Oliver because he's a child, and it wouldn't be Meryl because she's already in a relationship with Axel. So that leaves Woody. So Woody and Carol. Carol's just the female non-human romance, and Woody's the male non-human romance. So it's who's more your fancy, and I'd say both of them would romance any gender. So yeah, I think that's a good balance. You know, we've got a male non-human romance and the female non-human romance. Okay, so then the kids. Stand on top of them. The kids continue playing, standing on top of the barrels. We'll say they they try their best to hide themselves. Well, to not reveal themselves, because obviously this is a party, there's a lot of people around, so they're trying their best not to reveal themselves, but in the scene we'll like see them open their eyes now again and again, just so we're aware that they're alive. But then they might like hide again if there's a human nearby. They but clearly show their discomfort. And humiliation. The humiliation is written all over their faces. Carol watches the kids continue playing standing on top of the barrels. And then there was the idea of someone climbed in a barrel and broke it from the inside out, so that could even be integrated in here as well. Standing on top of the barrel and hiding inside them, like playing hide and seek. Because that would make sense. Maybe they'd want to play hide and seek. So continue playing standing on top of the barrels and hiding inside them, and then it breaks. They break. And the kids, they break apart in pieces. And the kids just laugh about it. I think everything that's orange is kind of being put in. Is there anything we've missed? Carol is at the podium by the mayor who's making a speech. After the speech, a bunch of kids start having fun playing. They use barrels as target practice, throwing food at them. These barrels are Carol's parents. They try their best to not reveal themselves, but clearly show their discomfort. The humiliation is written all over their faces. Carol watches. The kids continue playing, standing on top of the barrels and hiding inside them. They break apart into pieces, and the kids just laugh about it. Then both barrels eventually break apart into pieces, and the kids just laugh about it. And then it would be Carol's anger. I guess maybe the flashback would come to an end at that point, and it kind of just explains itself why Carol would be so angry, right? Because if we'd be angry, we'd be feeling that. Just watching how everything unfolded, and then we'd be like, that's why she hates humans. And especially if the adults around them laugh too. The adults around the kids join in and laugh as well. That's even more of a burn and awful to see, because everybody's laughing, and it's not like they're laughing because they're evil and cruel. They're laughing because they just think, look, our children are having fun playing. What a lovely time we're having at this party. That's why they're laughing. God, it's horrible. Like, it's so dark, but it's like a real juxtaposition, because it's a party. The event's meant to be happy, and as far as they're aware, they are literally having the best time. it's all innocent from their point of view. But it isn't. It isn't deep down. See. Happy to see the children having a fun time. Be interesting, like I'm wondering now, you know, the child who put Meryl's bra and lipstick on, the girl, the young little girl character that we'll have, she'd know Meryl was alive. Would she have known Meryl was alive? Or would she have been unaware that the barrel she was... I mean, obviously Meryl's face would have had to have been visible if she was going to put the lipstick on her. And the mascara, perhaps. So maybe the girl does know that Meryl's alive. That's something to think about, whether she was ignorant of it and wasn't aware. Or she knew. And then maybe if this girl's at the festival, how would she feel? Like, she wouldn't be involved in this if she knows the barrels are alive. It's just something to consider, because it just gives more layers to the tale when we think about other characters' feelings here that might. Okay, so I think that's it then. We've got all the key details in. I feel like that's the perfect time for the flashback to end. We know that Carol's seen it all. We're feeling angry ourselves and shocked at the situation. Because all Carol thinks now is selfish flashbacks. Having fun, having parties, and people, us having to suffer. And back to the timeline. So, the spell happened 15 months ago. Elvira and Hank came to life 12 months ago. These two came to life 9 months ago. These came to life 6 months ago. Oliver came to life 3 months ago. So obviously it's a recent event. I'd say Oliver would have... she lost her family 1 month ago. It definitely happened before this. I'd say, because obviously it happened before this, because the parents weren't in the flashback, so their deaths must have happened before this. That's why they weren't around anymore, because they'd already died. So it's longer than a month ago and less than 6 months ago. So somewhere between 6 months to 1 month. But I'd say, obviously I'd say Carol probably would have been I'd say she's probably hated humans most of her life, but obviously she would have had to have been old enough to realise what was happening, or at least like not be as innocent as Oliver while she was witnessing this. I would say that the loss of a family could have easily have happened 2 months ago. I mean, you know, a parent's deaths could have happened 2 months ago, so when Oliver was very young, maybe. But it also means Carol's mature enough. Or it could have been around the same time she adopted Oliver. Maybe it's around the same time she adopted Oliver, and that's what's made her be so protective of Oliver, so nothing happens to him, because she knows he's made out of ceramic. So witnessing what happened to her parents and how they broke so easily is what's kind of been the motivator to protect this precious cookie jar. so that doesn't get the same treatment. So it could have been around the time Oliver was born, and what motivated her to adopt him, because it would looking after Oliver would be also a distraction from what happened, and her way of recovering from the grief as well. So yeah, I'd say it would probably fall around here somewhere, the event. So eventually we'll make a Lore Bible entry for this. Right, guys, this was super cool. We've got so many good ideas, and I know that we've only really used a mix out of some of them that were mentioned to form this one particular flashback. But like we said, some of these are going to definitely make appearances, because there's so many good quality ones, and they'll just fit better at another point in time, in another area, or a future event with another character. For example, like the baby story is brilliant, but for Meryl we've decided, rather than Carol, just to let her have her moment to shine. So and have her arc that she's dealing with, and her personal issues. Okay, so that's it then, guys. Is it the end of the week? It is. It's Friday. Keep an eye on the social media, because I will be posting these sprites, the before and afters. And I'll be back on Monday, and I think we will be focusing on dialogue and story stuff for the rest of this month, while I'm behind the scenes working on the custom hero update, because obviously we've moved to tall sprites now. We've got to redo the hero assets as well. So I'll be working on all that technical messy stuff off stream, and on stream we'll do dialogue and story things related to episode 1, and just further fleshing things out, the outline of this story, this episode. Exciting times, guys. But my goal before the end of the year is to get all the scenes done and really in a good state, so that in January we can work on the skill and battles stuff and get the battles implemented before we release the first playable build early spring. So there's a lot to do. But yeah, dialogue, story and scene work is kind of the rest of this year's priority. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, Rex. I hope you're having a good day. Okay, so feel free to mention what you think of the flashback, everyone, as well. And if there's any particular things, little touches that should be in the scene, feel free to say too. I'm not going to have time. I don't know if I'm going to have time to go over and raid everyone, because my dinner's literally ready this second. It's getting laid out on the table because I'm finishing a bit late. So I'm not even going to have time to do the trivia as well today. So I'm going to have to just go straight off. But we'll do trivia on Monday, and we'll raid someone on Monday as well. So thanks everyone for hanging out, and take care. You're all awesome. I'll see you on Monday, and we'll carry on with more of this fun story stuff, or dialogue. It'll either be story ideas or dialogue writing. So take care everyone. Dialogue writing of Main Quest 1 and 2 will be finishing off, of course. Not dialogue for the new stuff. We're not doing any dialogue for new content until the first playable build's out, but we can very much do story outlining for the rest of the quests, because we'll want to have something prepared and ready so that the dialogue is easy to write for us when we do get started on it, once we've released the first playable build. Leaderboard. Take care everyone, have a good weekend, you're the best.